Okay, this is a video of the 1970 Fastback. Just looking at the restoration side of things. So going from sort of rear to the front, outside to inside. First things, tailgate. Because the previous owner had a spoiler on it but didn't bother sealing it. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's quite a lot of rust bouncing around inside, so I'm not sure what the inside that is. So that might need replaced if the dipping doesn't get it sorted. Overall around the outside, fine broadly, apart from tail light panel. It's got some rust there, but most especially some holes there, so I'm assuming that's probably simpler to just replace, but we'll see. Inside, overall, not too bad as far as I can tell, but I'll get photos later of up in the quarters where they've been replaced, but only the lower halves. So again, the quality of that repair doesn't look too good, so that might need some work. Down the rear, not massive problems here as far as I can see, but there's a lot of gunk, possibly hiding stuff. But overall, not too bad. A few holes and bits there, and again on the brace, there's some rust. Inner part here, same thing. There's a lapped quarter panel, again photos later, but it seems to be relatively rust free, apart from one bit I'll show later. However, the panel just in front of where the gas tank normally is has quite a lot of holes all across, so I think something's probably going to have to be done about that. I suspect it's probably too much to patch. Moving on the exterior, it's had a really bad respray which has protected the body quite a lot for what it's worth, but the inner wheel wells generally okay, apart from, you can see there's a patch of rust holes and so on back in there, just on the inside. So again, work needed on that. The same also on the other side, where it's not so bad, but underneath there is, if I can just find it, some rust creeping in on the underside of the, again, the quarter panel there, or the inner quarter panel. Moving down the side, again the roof appears okay, and from the inside again, no major issues. That's just the residue from the headliner there. There's no actual rust visible. The only area we do have is along the drip rails. I'm taking this door apart. All in and around down here is rust. So it doesn't seem to have penetrated too far, but I've not been able to have a good look at it from where I've been digging into it. Inner doors, rusty, but seem okay. So I'm hoping those, again, once I've dipped it or stripped it or whatever, will broadly come up okay. On the inside, from the back through to the front, no massive issues. I can see some rust here, just on the edges, but again the panel seems solid. Everything else in the back, pretty much okay. The rear seats, again you can see where the original seam seal has just started to come off, but there's no real bad rust in there that I've found, and likewise the inner front quarter panel pieces seem okay. The main issue I've found inside is that section of the rear floor pan, although this one is broadly okay, but the main issue is both front floor pans have been replaced, but if you can see, they've just laid them on top and stitched them in, and they haven't even fixed them onto the frame rails underneath, so they're just kind of dangling on the bottom end, so that's obviously going to need a bit of work. The other issue is, and it's not really visible, but this section here where the lower vents go is absolutely rusted through, again where water seems to have just got in and sat through weather stripping that's gone. Amazingly though, and again I'll get photos because I don't think this is shown, the cowl seems okay. There was a leak that's obviously done the floor pans, but I think that was more rubber parts that had failed, because when I hosed the cowl over, there was no real water coming through except through the holes in the bulkhead there. But again, might need a bit of work. As you can see, the other vent there, again, just completely shot through. The wings are new wings, I think, So I'm assuming that had also done damage to the wings, but the previous owner had replaced them. And again, stitch welded front floor pan there. Quite a thick, solid piece as well, but just not been put in particularly well. But on the inside, all the rails and the A-pillars seem okay on the inside. It's just that section there with the drip rail that has obviously started to perforate. So, moving on. Inside this side, again, I can't quite get it, but it looks like the drip rails have started to go on this side as well. But I can't quite get it out because I haven't stripped that door down yet. But everything else, when you dig into it, seems okay. As I said, there's a lot of good metal under there, apart from just where that soundproofing was, is where all that's gone and it's rusted through, but it's fairly localised and doesn't seem to have affected the seat base. So I'm hoping that's just a floor pan replacement. But everything else, a lot of surface rust, but seems okay. And as I said, if I dip it, hopefully I'll get a good look into all that. Anything else? Not from the inside, I don't think. Coming through to the front, as I said, new wings, but I'll send an email about that. I've got a few thoughts about that. The bonnet has had 69 hood pins stuck in, which I've now removed, and also had a 429, a really bad Repro 429 scoop, which, as you can see, wasn't particularly put in well. So the hood will need to be replaced. The other main piece of rust inside the engine bay is the battery tray, which is completely rusted in place. That's about the only bolts I've found on this thing that don't move. But the rest of it up to the bulkhead, it's scruffy. But again, I've not seen any obvious rust. And when I had the wheels off, having a look at the brakes, all the sort of the shock towers and all the rest of it looked pretty much fine as far as I could see. They'd been gunked up pretty heavily with some sort of sealer, so I think that had done its job and protected everything. So nothing really at this front end that's caused any issues that I can remember. Moving on to the other wing, again, I think they're fresh wings, but no real issues up and under there, again, that I can see. It's all fairly sturdy from what I've seen so far. So as I said, I'll get a load of photos of all of this and then send them along with an email. Obviously that front window, the windscreen has started to go, so I'm assuming that's pretty much not salvageable, which is a pity, but no massive drama. But other than that, seems solid. But again, I'll see what you've got to say about it. So potentially new trunk lid, definitely a new hood, quarters, depending what you say, whether or not they need to get done or the lower parts need to be done properly. We'll see. Tail light panel, probably. Certainly some work inside here and on the inner wheel wells. Possibly 2 new wings, but I'll talk about that in the email. Battery tray, and just floor pans, which is probably, I'd imagine, going to be just complete floor pans, front and rear, because of the quality of those repairs and the fact that that one's gone anyway. The rest of it, fairly sturdy, I believe. Okay, that's about it.